The Pacific horizon was still dark when Lieutenant Kira Blackwood finished her 200th push-up. 5:30 in the morning at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado, salt and diesel filled the air. Her muscles screamed. Her breathing stayed measured. She refused to quit. 30 Navy SEALs moved in perfect sync around her. Up, down, the rhythm of elite warriors who'd earned their trident through unimaginable hell. And one woman who'd done exactly the same. Kira Blackwood stood 5'3" in boots weighing 125 pounds, the smallest operator on SEAL Team 5 by 70 pounds. At 26, she'd been a SEAL for exactly 2 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Some mornings still felt surreal. Most mornings she made absolutely certain nobody questioned her presence. Time. Master Chief Nathaniel Cross's voice cut through dawn. Recovery stretch. Move. Kira rose smoothly. No tremor visible, despite the 200 push-ups. She'd learned years ago that showing weakness invited questions. Questions invited doubt. And doubt got people killed. The team stretched in silence. Professional, focused. This was her family now. These men had watched her survive Hell Week, had witnessed her earn every single inch of respect. They knew what she could do. They'd seen it. But what rolled through those gates in exactly 3 minutes would test everything she'd built and threaten to destroy her career in just 2 weeks. 3 olive-drab transport vehicles rumbled through the main gate, United States Marine Corps insignia on their doors. Kira felt the atmosphere shift immediately. SEALs and Marines shared a complicated relationship, mutual respect mixed with rivalry, each branch convinced of their superiority. The buses discharged their cargo, 6 Marines, all male, carrying that distinctive Force Recon swagger, the confidence that came from jumping out of perfectly good aircraft and calling it Tuesday. Kira recognized the type instantly. She'd grown up around men like this. Her father had been one. The lead Marine stepped forward. 6'2", maybe 195 shoulders, like a linebacker jaw carved from granite. Staff Sergeant stripes on his sleeve. His name tape read, Shaw. Master Chief Cross approached, hand extended. Master Chief Nathaniel Cross, welcome to Coronado. Shaw shook firmly. His assessing eyes swept the assembled SEALs like a general surveying troops. His gaze lingered on Kira for exactly 2 seconds. His lip curled. What he said next would ignite a confrontation that would echo across the entire base and force Kira to risk everything she'd worked for. Staff Sergeant Everett Shaw, Force Recon. His voice carried parade ground volume. My team's here for the joint training exercise, 2 weeks of cross-branch integration. Outstanding. Cross gestured toward the SEALs. My team's ready to work with you. We'll be running combined ops, sharing tactics, building cohesion. Shaw's eyes found Kira again. Something flickered across his face. Disbelief, contempt, amusement. All of your team? The question dripped skepticism. Kira knew what was coming. She'd heard variations her entire career. At basic, at buds, during every training evolution and deployment workup. The doubt never got old because it never went away. It just got louder. Shaw turned to his Marines, raising his voice another notch. Looks like Naval Special Warfare has updated their standards, boys. A theatrical pause. Wonder if they updated their coffee-making requirements too. Laughter from the Marines. Uncertain silence from the SEALs. Kira felt 30 pairs of eyes slide toward her. She didn't move, didn't react. Maintained her position of attention gaze, fixed on the middle distance. A technique her father had taught her at 12 years old. When they try to get under your skin, baby girl, you become stone. You become water. You become air. Anything but what they expect. Shaw walked closer, boots crunching on gravel. He stopped 3 feet from Kira, close enough to invade personal space, far enough to maintain plausible deniability. What's your rate, sailor? Not lieutenant, not ma'am. Just the deliberate disrespect of ignoring her rank entirely. Kira met his eyes, level, calm. Lieutenant Kira Blackwood, SEAL Team 5. SEAL. He dragged the word out, turned it into something obscene. And how long you been playing SEAL, Lieutenant? 2 years, Staff Sergeant. 2 whole years. Shaw whistled low, shook his head. Boys, we got ourselves a seasoned veteran here. 2 years. He turned back to her. Smiled. The kind of smile that wasn't friendly at all. Tell me, Lieutenant, they make buds easier for you. Lower that obstacle wall. Maybe let you skip the cold water evolution. Kira's jaw tightened, the only visible reaction she allowed herself. Same course, same standards, same Hell Week. Sure, Shaw's smile widened. I believe that. I really do. He raised his voice again, addressing the entire formation. Now I'm sure the Navy gave you the exact same standards as the men. Exact same. No political pressure, no diversity quotas, no senators making phone calls. He leaned in close enough that only Kira and the nearest SEALs could hear his next words. Try not to cry, princess. It's only 2 weeks. The words hit like a physical blow. Kira's hands curled into fists at her sides. Every muscle screamed to move, to respond, to wipe that smug expression off his face. But she was stone. She was water. She was air. Yes, Staff Sergeant. Flat, emotionless, giving him nothing. Shaw held her gaze 3 more seconds. Then he turned, dismissing her entirely, in a dress cross. My Marines are ready to train, Master Chief, assuming we're actually here to train and not babysit. Cross's face had gone carefully blank. The kind of blank from 32 years of military service and learning when to fight your battles. We're here to train, Staff Sergeant. Let's get your team squared away. The formation broke, Marines moving toward barracks, SEALs dispersing. Kira held her position until everyone else had moved. Then she walked. Not toward the barracks, toward the beach. She needed to run. The next 12 days unfolded like a masterclass in psychological warfare. Shaw and his Marines integrated into every training evolution, every briefing, every meal, and at every opportunity, the comments came. Day 1, rifle qualifications. Kira was firing 40 rounds at 300 yards. Iron sights, wind gusting at 15 knots from the northwest. She called her shots, controlled her breathing, squeezed the trigger between heartbeats like her father had taught her before she could write in cursive. 40 rounds, 40 hits, dead center mass, perfect score. Shaw watched from the observation booth. His voice carried through the open window. Must be nice having adjustable targets. Bet they set hers 10 yards closer. Laughter from his Marines. Kira ejected her magazine, cleared her weapon, said nothing. But she was keeping score. Day 3, full gear, 50-pound ruck, weapons, 2-mile ocean swim in 62-degree water. The cold didn't bother Kira. She'd grown up swimming in these waters, had learned to love the Pacific's icy embrace during Hell Week. The cold was familiar, almost comforting. She finished the swim 8 minutes ahead of the next fastest time, emerged from the surf breathing hard but controlled. No shivering, no hypothermia symptoms. Shaw was waiting on the beach. His expression said everything his mouth didn't need to. That same skeptical assessment, that same dismissive judgment. Day 5, live fire exercises in the kill house. Real ammunition, the most dangerous training SEALs conducted, where one mistake meant someone went home in a box. Kira's team breached 6 rooms, engaged 42 targets, 0 civilian casualties, 0 friendly fire incidents, completion time 93 seconds. Textbook perfect. Shaw reviewed the video footage, shook his head. Anybody can shoot paper. Combat's different. When real bullets come back, we'll see who freezes. His corporal, a man named Kane with brawler's scars on his knuckles, nodded agreement. Women aren't wired for violence. It's biology. Kira was cleaning her weapon 15 feet away. She heard every word, said nothing. But Kane had just volunteered himself for something he couldn't imagine. Day 8 arrived with morning PT, the breaking point. Kira ran with her SEAL team. Formation tight, cadence sharp. Shaw jogged past with his Marines. As they passed, he called out loud enough for everyone to hear. Try not to cry, princess. SEALs are watching. Wouldn't want to embarrass them. Kira stopped running. The formation halted behind her. 50 men watching, waiting. She turned, faced Shaw directly. Staff Sergeant, you have something to say to me directly. Shaw grinned, stopped his formation. Just advice, Lieutenant. This life isn't for everyone. No shame in transferring to something softer. The challenge hung in the air. Undeniable. Public. Kira's voice carried across the training ground. You think I can't handle this life? I think you're a diversity hire playing dress-up in Daddy's uniform. 50 SEALs and Marines had gathered now. Training forgotten. History being made. Kira stepped forward. Then prove it. You and your squad. All 6. One night. Consecutive matches. I'll take every single one of you. The crowd went silent. Shaw's grin widened. You're serious. Dead serious. Unless you're the one who needs to cry, Staff Sergeant. Shaw's eyes narrowed. He was being challenged. Publicly. By a woman. In front of his Marines. In front of SEALs. This was about more than training now. Fine, he said. But we do this right. Stakes. He stepped closer. You lose, you request transfer out of Naval Special Warfare. Publicly. In writing. You admit you don't belong here. Kira didn't hesitate. And when I win, you write a formal apology to every female service member on this base. Goes in your permanent record. And you add one line, I was wrong. Capability has no gender. Shaw extended his hand. Saturday night, 2,000 hours. The gymnasium. Kira shook it firmly. Try not to cry, princess, he whispered. I won't, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. But bring tissues for your boys. Shaw's smile faltered, just for a second. Then he turned and walked away, his Marines following. The crowd dispersed slowly. Whispers, speculation, excitement. But Cross pulled Kira aside, away from everyone. You just bet your entire career on 6 fights. No, Master Chief. I bet it on skill, on everything my father taught me. Cross studied her face. Something shifted in his expression. Decision made. There's something you need to know. Come with me. Cross led Kira to a small office in the administrative building. Locked the door behind them, opened an old storage locker in the corner. He pulled out a VHS tape. The label written in faded marker read, Blackwood, 1991. Kira's breath caught. Is that your father, 33 years ago? This exact challenge. Cross set up an old TV and VCR. The equipment looked ancient, but when he pressed play, the image was clear enough. Grainy footage, the same gymnasium, younger men, different era, different uniforms, but the same spirit, the same test. And there in the center of the ring was Master Chief Garrett Blackwood, Kira's father. Younger than she'd ever known him, 26 years old, lean and dangerous, moving with a predator's grace. Across from him stood 4 Marines. Not 6, 4. But the principle was the same. The challenge identical. The footage had no sound, just visual. But Kira watched transfixed as her father fought. The first Marine went down in under 20 seconds. Simple takedown. Her father flowed into side control. Arm triangle choke. The Marine tapped frantically. The second Marine lasted longer, maybe a minute. Ground and pound. Methodical strikes from mount until the referee stopped it. Technical knockout. The third was a boxer. Technical. Smart. The fight went nearly 3 minutes. Back and forth. Beautiful technique on both sides. Her father slipped punches with minimal movement, waited for the opening, caught the boxer in a guillotine choke mid-combination. The Marine tapped. The fourth was the biggest. Had to be 6'4", maybe 240. Garrett Blackwood was 5'10", 170. The size difference was massive, intimidating. But her father moved like water, slipped the big man's power punches, used his momentum against him, got him down with a perfectly timed trip, took his back. Rear naked choke locked deep. The big Marine refused to tap, fought the choke with everything he had, pride and stubbornness keeping his hand from slapping the canvas. He went unconscious, body going limp, referee rushing in. 11 minutes, total time, 4 Marines, all beaten. Garrett Blackwood stood, didn't celebrate, didn't raise his hands in victory, didn't showboat, just walked out of frame. Professional, humble, a warrior who'd done what needed doing. The video ended. Kira realized she was crying, tears streaming down her face. She'd never seen this. Never knew her father had faced the same challenge, the same doubt, the same need to prove himself. He never told me, she whispered. He didn't tell anyone, Cross said quietly, except me. I was there, 29 years old, fresh seal. I filmed this. He ejected the tape, handed it to her. He created Phantom Protocol for this exact moment, Kira, for when someone questions if you belong, for when someone tries to make you small, for when you need to show them what a warrior really is. Cross opened the locker again, pulled out a worn leather notebook. Kira recognized it immediately. Her father's handwriting on the cover. The notebook she'd studied for years. The system that had made her who she was. But this was different, thicker, more complete. This is the full system, Cross said. Not just the techniques you know, everything. Philosophy, strategy, psychology, the complete Phantom Protocol. He handed it to her with reverence, like passing a sacred text. 7 days until Saturday. I'll help you prepare, but this fight is yours, not his ghost, not my mentoring, yours. Kira opened the notebook. Her father's handwriting filled the pages. Diagrams, notes, principles, wisdom earned through blood and sacrifice. Page 1. For Kira, when you need this, you'll know. Trust yourself, trust the protocol, make them remember the name Blackwood. Dad! She looked up at Cross. He knew. He knew I'd face this. He hoped you wouldn't have to, but he prepared you anyway. That's what fathers do. Cross put his hand on her shoulder. 7 days, Lieutenant. Let's make sure you're ready. The next 7 days blurred together in a haze of pain and preparation. Cross pushed her harder than harder than anything she'd experienced. Every evolution designed with one purpose: prepare her body and mind to fight 6 trained warriors consecutively. 4:30 every morning, before the sun, running the beach. Not for distance, not for speed, for mental endurance, for learning to move when her body screamed to stop, when every fiber wanted to quit, when the easy choice was to give up. Cross ran beside her. 62 years old, matching her pace, showing her that age was just a number. That will mattered more than youth. Your father used to say the body quits long before the mind has to. Pain is just information. Exhaustion is just a state. You choose whether to listen. Day 1 brought grappling endurance, 5-minute rounds, but not against one opponent, against rotating opponents. Fresh seals cycling in every 5 minutes. Kira stayed in, round after round after round. You're fighting 6 men back to back, Cross barked. 2-minute rest between each. You need to learn to fight exhausted. When your lungs burn, when your arms feel like lead, when your brain fogs from oxygen deprivation. That's when technique has to take over. 10 rounds, 50 minutes of continuous combat. Kira's lungs burned, her muscles screamed, her brain fogged from oxygen deprivation. 10 more rounds. She made it through 7 before she vomited. Cross handed her water, waited exactly 60 seconds. Again. By the end of day 1, Kira had completed 25 5-minute rounds, over 2 hours of continuous grappling. Her body was a collection of bruises and exhaustion. Every movement hurt. Every breath was labor. But Cross was just getting started. Day 2, he opened the notebook to page 15. Small joints break before large muscles tear, he read. Target fingers, wrists, elbows, knees. Quick, devastating. Move on. No wasted motion, no showing off. They drilled for 14 hours, just joint manipulation. Cross's hands became targets. Kira learned to see every finger, every wrist, every elbow as a lever. A fulcrum, a mechanical system designed to fail under the right pressure, applied at the right angle. Your dad was an engineer before he was a SEAL, Cross explained. Worked for Lockheed, designed weapon systems. He understood that bodies are just machines, biological machines, and machines break when you exceed their tolerances. Kira's hands moved thousands of times, isolating fingers, hyper-extending wrists, finding the precise angles where joints failed, where cartilage compressed, where ligaments tore, where pain became overwhelming. Pain is a signal, Cross said. The brain's entire job is survival. When you attack a joint, you're sending an overwhelming signal: stop this, or the joint breaks. The brain shuts down everything else, defense-offense strategy, to stop that signal. They become prisoners of pain. That's when you finish them. And by the end of day 2, Kira could feel the mechanics in every joint she touched, could sense the breaking points without thinking. Her hands had become surgical instruments. Day 3, Cross made her observe. Your father's second rule, he said, pointing to the notebook. Every warrior has a tell, a habit, a weakness. Find it in 10 seconds. Exploit it in 1 move. Kira watched Shaw's Marines during their training. Really watched. Not just seeing, analyzing. Breaking down movement patterns, identifying habits carved into muscle memory through years of training. Corporal Dominic Archer, the Taekwondo fighter, 5'9", 170, third-degree black belt. Tournament champion, cocky, skilled, but when he got tired, he dropped his left hand consistently. 6 inches, 8 inches, a habit carved into muscle memory from years of heavy weapons training. The M249 saw he'd carried for 3 years in Afghanistan. The weight had programmed his body. Lance Corporal Silas Kane, the brawler. 6'1", 200 pounds, street fighter, no formal training, all raw aggression, used power and intimidation, but he telegraphed everything 3 moves in advance. Big wind-up on every punch, shoulders rotating early, weight shifting obviously, predictable, exploitable. Corporal Brennan Sullivan, the wrestler, 6 feet, even 185, Division I, Iowa or Penn State level, strong, good pressure, excellent base, but predictable. Every takedown came from the same setup, the same level change, the same penetration step, the same rhythm. Muscle memory from thousands of repetitions. Corporal Wyatt Thorne, the sniper, 5'11", 180, lean, flexible. Technical Muay Thai, precise, measured, dangerous. But he exposed his neck when transitioning between strikes. Poor defensive habit. Probably looked cool in the dojo. Aesthetic over function would be fatal against someone who noticed. Sergeant Callum Rhodes, they called him Tank, 6'4", 240, the giant. Massive but slow. Kind eyes. Gentle demeanor. When he got tired, he dropped his left hand just like Archer. Different reason carrying weight, not weapons, but same tell, same exploitable weakness. And Shaw, the leader, the champion. 6'2", 195, 12 years of boxing, Golden Gloves winner, technical, smart, disciplined. His fundamentals were flawless. His combinations crisp. His footwork textbook. But there was something else. Kira watched him throw punches during pad work. His right cross was devastating. His left jab was sharp and fast, perfect form. But when he fully extended his right hand just for a split second, his face tightened. Micro-expression, pain, old injury, probably a rotator cuff tear that never healed properly. He favored that shoulder subtly, compensated unconsciously. But it was there, visible if you knew what to look for. Kira recorded everything in a small notebook, her father's observations on one side, her own on the other, building a database, creating a tactical manual. You're not just learning to fight, Cross said. You're learning to win before the fight starts. Sun Tzu said every battle is won before it's fought. Your father understood that. Know your enemy, know yourself. Victory becomes inevitable. Day 4 brought speed drills, transitions, guard passes, sweeps, submissions. Everything had to flow. No pause, no reset. One technique into the next, into the next, into the next. Continuous motion, perpetual threat. Kira's body learned to move without thinking. Muscle memory carved into place through repetition. Thousands of repetitions. Her movements became automatic, reflexive, faster than conscious thought. When your opponent moves left, you've already moved right, Cross said. When they push, you've already pulled. When they think they have you, you're already gone. You become smoke, impossible to pin down, impossible to predict. By the end of day 4, Kira felt like water. Fluid, reactive, adaptable. She could flow around obstacles instead of fighting through them. Speed isn't about being fast, Cross said. It's about being gone before they arrive. It's about occupying the space they're moving toward before they get there. That's true speed. Day 5, Cross pulled out a sealed envelope from the back of the notebook. The paper was old, yellowed, the seal unbroken. Your father left this, Cross said. His voice carried unusual weight. Instructions written on the outside, only open if 6 lives depend on it. Only if everything else fails. He broke the seal. Inside was a single page, hand-drawn diagram. Her father's meticulous handwriting. Engineering precision. One-handed guillotine choke variation, Cross read. Designed for when one arm is compromised. He used it in Afghanistan 2011. Dislocated shoulder, surrounded by Taliban, choked out the last attacker one-handed while calling for medevac with the other arm. Kira studied the diagram. The technique was elegant, brutal, dangerous. It required perfect positioning, perfect timing, perfect execution. No margin for error. Why would I need this? Cross looked at her steadily. Pray you don't, but if you get hurt in Fight 5, you'll still have Fight 6 to finish. This is your insurance policy. Your father almost died learning this. Don't waste the knowledge. Days 6 and 7 brought mental preparation, visualization, meditation, seeing each fight from beginning to end, feeling the victory before it happened, programming success into her nervous system. Your body will do what your mind has already done, Cross said. When you're exhausted, when you're hurt, when you want to quit, your mind will remember that you've already won, already been here, already survived. That memory becomes fuel. On the evening of day 6, Cross gave her something else. A worn black belt, Krav Maga, the edges frayed from years of use. The black faded to gray in places. Sweat stains, blood stains. The belt had stories. This was his, Cross said quietly. He earned it in 1985. Wore it for 26 years. Every training session, every deployment, every fight. Said it carried his spirit, his technique, everything he'd learned. Kira took the belt with trembling fingers. The material was soft, worn. She could almost feel her father's hands on it. His sweat, his determination, his love. He wanted you to have this when you faced your biggest challenge, Cross said. Tomorrow night you'll wear it. Not for luck, for remembrance, for connection. Your father will be with you in that ring. That night alone in her quarters, Kira opened the notebook to page 83. Her father's final entry, written the week before he deployed to Afghanistan. The deployment he didn't return from. The handwriting was slightly shakier than earlier entries. He'd known somehow that this might be his last words to her. Baby girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I won't be there to see you become what I know you'll be. The strongest, smartest, most capable warrior I could imagine. But here's what I need you to remember. Being strong isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up. Being brave isn't about never being scared. It's about fighting anyway. And being a warrior isn't about never crying. It's about crying, wiping your eyes, and getting back to work. I love you, baby girl. Make them remember your name, Dad. Kira read the words 3 times, then closed the notebook, hugged it to her chest. Let herself feel the grief, the loss, the weight of 13 years without him. Then she wiped her eyes, just like he'd taught her. Tomorrow, 6 Marines would try to break her. Tomorrow, she'd show them what a Blackwood really was. She picked up a pen, opened her own journal, wrote one entry. Dad, tomorrow I fight your fight. 6 Marines, one night. I'm terrified. But you taught me that fear is the body's way of preparing for excellence. I won't cry until it's done. Then I'll cry for both of us, for the 13 years without you. Then I'll keep going, because that's what Blackwoods do. Love, Kira. She closed the journal, set it beside her father's notebook. 2 generations of warriors, 2 books of knowledge, both teaching the same lesson. True strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about breaking and choosing to heal, choosing to stand, choosing to fight. Saturday arrived with bright sunshine, 72 degrees, light breeze from the ocean, perfect Southern California weather. The kind of day that made people forget that violence existed in the world. Kira's stomach felt like lead. 1,800 hours, 2 hours before the fight. She sat alone in her room, her father's notebook, his trident pin, the worn black belt hanging on the wall, artifacts of a legacy she carried forward. A knock on her door. Come in. Cross entered. His face was serious, professional, but Kira saw the warmth in his eyes, the faith. How you feeling? Terrified. Good. Your dad was terrified before every mission, said fear kept you sharp, made you careful. Only idiots weren't scared. Kira managed a small smile. He used to tell me that. Cross sat. They stayed in silence for a moment. Then he stood. Time to get ready. 1,900 hours. 1 hour left. After Cross left, Kira sat for 5 more minutes, breathing, centering. Then she stood, changed into her fight gear, black shorts, gray navy t-shirt, taped her hands carefully. The ritual her father had taught her. Each wrap deliberate, each loop meaningful, creating armor from cloth and adhesive. Finally, she tied his black belt around her waist. The worn material felt right, like coming home, like her father's arms around her one more time. 1930 hours, 30 minutes before the fight. Cross met her outside her quarters. 6 men, he said. Your father did 4. You're doing 6, not because you have to prove anything to them, because they need to learn. This isn't about you being good enough for them. It's about them becoming good enough to stand beside you. Kira nodded, couldn't speak, the weight of the moment too heavy for words. They walked together toward the gymnasium. Every step, Kira heard her father's voice. Lessons from childhood, principles from the notebook, wisdom earned in blood and sacrifice. Every opponent tells you how to beat them, baby girl. You just have to listen. Small joints break before large muscles tear. Target the mechanics. Fast beats strong, smart beats fast. Fast and smart unstoppable. When you're broken, when you can't go on, that's when phantoms are made. The gymnasium doors loomed ahead, the sound of 400 people inside, talking, waiting, expecting a spectacle, expecting history. Kira paused at the door, touched her father's dog tags under her shirt, felt the worn metal, the engraving, his name, his service number, his legacy. She whispered one sentence, a prayer, a promise, a declaration. Phantom protocol activated, Dad. Let's make them remember. Then she pushed open the doors and walked into the arena where her father's legacy would either be honored or destroyed. 400 people, standing room only, SEALs, Marines, officers, enlisted, support personnel, civilians from base housing. Everyone had heard about the challenge. Everyone wanted to witness what happened when a woman claimed she could do what 6 men couldn't stop. The boxing ring stood in the center. Professional setup, proper lighting, ropes, canvas, corner stools, medics standing by with equipment, stretchers ready. This was sanctioned, official, legal. Commander Harrison, the base commander, stood in the ring with a microphone. This wasn't just an exhibition match anymore. This was a statement, a test, a moment that would define careers. Kira climbed through the ropes. The canvas felt solid under her feet. Real. This was happening. No turning back now, no escape clause. Win or go home. Cross waited in her corner. He'd assembled a proper team. 2 SEALs to work her corner. Water, towels, ice, medical supplies if needed. They were ready for war. Across the ring, Shaw and his 6 Marines, laughing, loose, confident. Archer shadowboxing. Kane cracking his knuckles. Sullivan stretching. Thorne calm and measured. Rhodes towering over everyone. And Shaw in the center, watching her. That cold smile playing at his lips. He caught her eye. Mouthed 2 words. Try crying. Kira stared back, unflinching, unafraid. Mouthed 2 words back. Watch me. Commander Harrison's voice filled the gymnasium. Good evening. What we're about to witness is an exhibition match sanctioned under regulations governing hand-to-hand combat training. Medical personnel are standing by. Rules are simple. Standard MMA regulations. No strikes to groin or throat. No eye gouging or fish hooking. Match continues until submission, knockout, or referee stoppage. He paused. Let the gravity settle. Let everyone understand this was real. Lieutenant Blackwood will face 6 opponents consecutively. 2-minute rest between each match. Fight order has been determined by rank, lowest to highest. Harrison looked at Kira. Lieutenant, do you accept these terms? Kira's voice rang clear. Yes, sir. Staff Sergeant Shaw, do your Marines accept these terms? Shaw grinned. Yes, sir. Can't wait, sir. Then let's begin. First match. Lieutenant Kira Blackwood versus Corporal Dominic Archer. The crowd roared. 400 voices becoming one sound. Anticipation, excitement, bloodlust, the primal human need to witness combat. Kira walked to her corner. Cross grabbed her shoulders. Remember everything. Fast beats strong. Technique beats size. And you've already beaten him once. Kira nodded, focused her breathing, slowed her heartbeat despite the adrenaline flooding her system. Across the ring, Archer entered, removed his shirt, lean muscles, taekwondo tattoo on his ribs. He bounced on his toes, eager, confident, ready for revenge. The referee called them to center. I want a clean fight. Protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves. They touched gloves. Kira's hands looked tiny against his. The referee raised his arm. Ready? Kira looked up, not at Archer, not at Shaw, not at the crowd. Up to the ceiling, to wherever her father was watching from. To heaven or memory or the place where warriors go. She whispered one sentence, too quiet for anyone else to hear. This is for you, Dad. The referee's arm came down. Fight! The bell rang. Archer came forward fast, confident, cocky, that same grin from the gym demonstration 2 weeks ago. That same swagger that said he'd been replaying their first match in his head for days, planning his revenge, visualizing his redemption. He threw a feint jab, testing, measuring distance, then a faint low kick, setting the rhythm, building the pattern, making Kira react to his cadence. Kira watched his hips, his shoulders, the slight shift in weight distribution that telegraphed what was coming next. She'd studied this man for 3 days, had watched him throw this combination 43 times during training. She knew what was coming. Archer's signature move, his money technique, the spinning back kick that had won him tournament gold medals across 3 weight classes. The technique he was so proud of that he couldn't help but use it. The move that defined him as a martial artist. The spin started. Beautiful technique, really. Fast rotation, good chamber. Perfect extension at the apex. The kind of kick that looked spectacular in competition. The kind that dropped opponents who didn't see it coming. The kind that won highlight reels. Kira had been seeing it coming for 7 days. She stepped inside the arc, let his momentum carry him past her. His heel missed her head by 6 inches, close enough to feel the wind, close enough to make the crowd gasp, far enough to be safe, far enough to be calculated. Archer completed his spin, slightly off balance, the committed rotation leaving him vulnerable for exactly 0.8 seconds. His weight on one leg, his guard dropped, his back exposed. 0.8 seconds was enough. Kira hooked his lead leg with her foot. Simple sweep, using his own forward momentum against him. Physics and timing instead of strength, leverage instead of power. Archer's eyes widened. His balance disappeared. He crashed to the canvas, back slamming into the mat. The impact drove air from his lungs in a sharp gasp that echoed through the suddenly silent gymnasium. Kira dropped into side control before he could recover, before he could process what happened, before his brain could catch up to his body. Her legs already wrapping around his neck and shoulder, trapping his near arm, the arm triangle materializing like a magic trick. Archer tried to bridge immediately. Good instinct, good training, create space, escape the position. But Kira had already cinched the choke, already locked the angle. His bridge only tightened the triangle, made it worse, made escape impossible. His free hand came up, pushed against her shoulder, trying to create separation, trying to relieve the pressure on his neck, trying to breathe. Kira used that push, rolled them both, used his own force against him, ended up mounted on his chest. The arm triangle locked deeper now, inescapable, her shoulder pressing into one side of his neck, his own trapped shoulder pressing into the other. The carotid arteries compressed from both directions. Blood flowed to the brain, cutting off. Archer's face turned red. His eyes bulged. He understood now. This wasn't the demonstration. This wasn't controlled sparring. This was real combat, real violence, real defeat, and he was losing. He tapped, 3 quick slaps against the canvas, sharp sounds that echoed through the suddenly silent gymnasium. Kira released immediately, rolled off him, rose to her feet while Archer gasped and coughed, sucking air, hand on his throat, face flushed with humiliation more than oxygen deprivation. The clock read 12 seconds, 12 seconds. First fight done, 5 to go. The crowd exploded, 400 people finding their voice, SEALs roaring approval, Marines stunned into silence. The noise was physical, a pressure wave that hit Kira's chest. But she didn't celebrate, didn't raise her hands, didn't showboat, just walked back to her corner while Archer stumbled out of the ring, one hand still on his throat. Face flushed with shame, Cross handed her water. 1 down, 5 to go. Heart rate. Kira checked her pulse mentally. Elevated but controlled. Good. Conserve energy. They get harder from here. The referee called time. 2-minute rest complete. Next match, Lieutenant Blackwood versus Lance Corporal Silas Kane. Kane entered the ring with murder in his eyes. 6'1", 200 pounds of muscle and bad intentions. Tattoos covering both arms. Prison ink, street ink, broken nose that had healed crooked. Scarred knuckles. Street fighter written all over him. He didn't bounce or showboat like Archer. Just walked to center ring with a predator's focus. The kind of focus that came from growing up fighting. Real fighting. Not in dojos or tournaments. In alleys and parking lots and bar bathrooms where the loser went to the hospital or the morgue. Ain't nothing personal, ma'am, he said as they touched gloves. His voice was gravel. Cigarettes and whiskey. Just doing my job. I understand, Corporal. The referee stepped back. Fight! Kane charged immediately. No technique, no setup, no strategy, just raw aggression. A wild right hook aimed at Kira's head. The kind of punch that would end the fight if it landed. The kind that separated consciousness from unconsciousness with pure kinetic force. Kira had watched him train all week, knew this was coming. Every punch Kane threw started the same way. Big windup, telegraph from 3 moves away, shoulders rotating early, hips opening, weight shifting obviously. Powerful but predictable. She stepped inside the arc of his swing, let his fist pass over her shoulder. Close enough to feel the displacement of air. Close enough to hear the whoosh. His momentum carried him forward. Off balance, committed. No way to adjust mid-punch. Kira moved with him, used his own force. Classic judo principle. When they push, you pull. When they pull, you push. Make their strength your weapon. Hip throw. Her hip became a fulcrum. His body mass became leverage. Physics doing the work that muscle couldn't. 125 pounds defeating 200 through angles and timing. Kane went airborne. His eyes widened in surprise. 200 pounds of Marine flying through space. Then he hit the canvas hard. The impact shook the ring, drove the air from his lungs with an audible whoosh that made people wince. But Kane was tough, started to push up immediately, trying to get back to his feet, back to his comfortable striking range where size and power mattered, where he could use his natural advantages. Kira didn't let him. She dropped onto his back as he rose to hands and knees, wrapped her legs around his waist, arms snaking around his throat before he could defend, before he even knew she was there. Rear naked choke, one arm across the throat, the other hand gripping her own bicep. Kane's neck trapped in the V, the carotid arteries compressed. Blood flowed to brain cutting off, again. Kane's hands came up, grabbed her forearm, tried to pull it away. He was strong, much stronger than Kira. His grip felt like iron, fingers digging into her arm with crushing force that would leave bruises. That hurt. That made her want to let go. But strength didn't matter here. The choke was locked, proper technique, perfect angles. No amount of pulling would break it. You can't muscle your way out of physics. Can't brute force your way out of leverage. Kane tried to stand, actually managed to get one foot under him, then the other. He stood up with Kira on his back like a backpack, 125 pounds hanging from his neck, choking him, cutting off blood to his brain. The crowd gasped. The strength required to stand with a full-grown person choking you was impressive. Showed just how tough Kane really was, how much pain he could endure, how much pride he carried. But it didn't matter. Kane stumbled forward, trying to ram Kira into the corner post, trying to crush her against the turnbuckle, trying anything to break the choke, trying anything to breathe. Kira squeezed tighter, felt his pulse hammering against her forearm. Fast at first, desperate, like a trapped animal, then slower, weaker, fading. His steps became unsteady. His hands still gripping her arm loosened. His body swayed. The world was going gray, then black. "Tap, Corporal," Kira whispered. "It's over." Kane shook his head, stubborn, proud, refusing to submit to a woman. Even as consciousness slipped away, even as his legs wobbled, even as the world went dark around the edges, his legs buckled. They went down together. Kane face first into the canvas. Kira still on his back, still holding the choke, still professional, still controlled. The referee rushed in, checked Kane's eyes, waved frantically. "Stop, stop, he's out." Kira released immediately, rolled away, knelt while the medical team swarmed the ring. Kane lay unconscious, face purple, breathing but gone, completely unconscious. It took 30 seconds to revive him. 30 seconds of medics checking vitals, applying oxygen, calling his name, slapping his cheeks gently. His eyes fluttered open. Confusion, disorientation, then awareness, then humiliation deeper than any physical pain. He looked at Kira, still kneeling 10 feet away. Something flickered across his face. Something that might have been respect buried under layers of wounded pride and shattered ego. The medics helped him from the ring. He had to be supported. Legs still unsteady, brain still recovering from oxygen deprivation. Still processing the fact that a woman half his size had choked him unconscious. The crowd had gone silent. This wasn't sport anymore. This was something dangerous, something real. 2 men down, 1 unconscious, and Kira had barely broken a sweat. Barely breathing hard. 1 minute, 47 seconds. Second fight done. 4 to go. Cross grabbed her shoulders in the corner. "Good. Perfect technique. But you're breathing harder. 2 fights, 2 submissions. But you had to hold that choke longer than expected. Had to work harder." He wouldn't tap. He handed her water, made her sit on the stool. "Drink more. Slow your heart. 4 more fights. 4 more men. Each one bigger, stronger, more skilled. Pace yourself." Kira drank. Her arms tingled. Adrenaline and lactic acid mixing. The beginning of fatigue. Just the beginning. But it was there, a whisper of what was coming. The referee called time. Next match, Lieutenant Blackwood versus Corporal Brennan Sullivan. Sullivan entered the ring with a wrestler's confidence. 6 feet, even 185 broad shoulders, thick legs. Kira had watched him wrestle during training. Division I level, Iowa or Penn State. His takedowns were powerful, his top pressure suffocating, his base nearly impossible to move. But wrestlers had patterns, predictable sequences carved into muscle memory through thousands of hours on the mat. Muscle memory that became exploitable if you knew what to look for. Sullivan would shoot, would try to take her down, would try to use his weight and strength to pin her, to grind her out, to make her carry his body weight until exhaustion made her quit. Kira stood, her legs protested, already tired. 2 fights and maybe 6 minutes of total combat time, but 6 minutes of maximum output, of technique, of control, of violence eating at her reserves. They touched gloves. Sullivan's grip was firm but respectful. "Good fight so far, ma'am, but this one's mine." "We'll see, Corporal." The referee stepped back. "Fight." Sullivan circled, cautious. He'd watched the first 2 matches. Knew rushing was death. Knew Kira was dangerous. He worked angles, probed with his hands, looking for an opening. A moment to shoot, a window to close distance. 30 seconds passed. Neither committed. The crowd grew restless, wanted action, wanted blood, wanted to see something happen. Sullivan faked a jab, then dropped his level, shot in low, a perfect double-leg takedown attempt. Fast, explosive. Division I technique. His shoulder aimed at Kira's hips, his hands reaching for her legs. Textbook execution. Kira had seen it coming. The slight weight shift, the drop in elevation, the tell she'd identified 3 days ago. Half a second of warning. She sprawled, hip pressure driving down on his shoulders, legs shooting back, making herself heavy, dead weight, denying him the angle he needed. Sullivan's takedown stalled. His hands grabbed at air. Kira circled behind him. Took his back while he was still on hands and knees. Exactly where she'd been with Kane. Same position, same control. But Sullivan was better than Kane. Technical, smart, coached by champions. He sat to his hip immediately, tried to turn into her, tried to get back to guard position, tried to use his wrestling knowledge to escape. Kira read the movement, wrapped her legs around his waist, locked a body triangle, her foot hooked behind her opposite knee, creating a figure four that couldn't be broken, that cut off his mobility, that trapped him. Sullivan tried to hand fight, tried to prevent her from getting to his neck. His defensive wrestling was good. Hands protecting his throat, elbows tight, chin tucked. Everything by the book. Kira didn't go for the choke. Not yet. She controlled his posture instead, one hand on his forehead, pulling back, exposing his face, breaking his defensive structure. Her other hand came over his shoulder. Short punches, controlled but firm. Striking from back mount. 1, 2, 3, 4. Accurate strikes to the side of his head, his temple, his jaw, his ear. The punches weren't meant to knock him out, weren't meant to hurt badly, but they were legal, and they were effective, and they were accumulating damage, making him uncomfortable, making him react instead of thinking. Sullivan tried to defend, tried to cover up, but doing so exposed his neck, created the opening Kira had been waiting for, the opening she'd been building toward with every strike. Her arm snaked in, but Sullivan pulled his chin down. Good defense, good coaching. The choke didn't lock fully. She had his jaw, not his throat. More strikes, 5, 6, 7. Sullivan's arms were tiring, defending punches, trying to escape, burning energy at a rate he couldn't sustain. Fighting battles on multiple fronts, the referee watched closely, looking for signs, for safety, for the moment when defense became just survival. When intelligent defense became just blocking. Kira's strikes kept coming. Rhythm, pressure, relentless. Sullivan's guard dropped. Just a fraction. Just enough. The referee stepped in. Stop! Stop! TKO. 2 minutes and 8 seconds. 3 down, halfway. But Kira's shoulders were burning now. Her legs felt like concrete. 3 fights, maybe 8 minutes of actual combat, but 8 minutes of maximum output, of technique, of control, of violence eating at her speed, at her strength, at her will to continue. Sullivan was conscious, unhurt except for his pride and a ringing in his ears. But he'd been unable to defend, unable to improve position. The referee's job was to protect fighters. He'd done it. Sullivan looked frustrated, angry at himself. He'd known better, should have defended better, should have turned faster, should have not gotten taken down in the first place. Kira helped him up. Good match, Corporal. Your wrestling is solid. Not solid enough. Sullivan shook his head, left the ring with dignity intact. Cross met Kira in the corner with water, with a towel, with ice for her shoulders. 3 down, halfway. How you feeling? Tired. No point lying. Not to Cross. Good. Embrace it. They're tired watching. You're tired doing, but you're winning. Keep winning. 3 more. Kira sat. Her shoulders burned. Her legs felt disconnected. 3 fights, 3 victories. But the cost was mounting. Each fight took more than the last, required more effort, more will, more sacrifice of body and spirit. She'd never done this before, never fought 3 trained opponents back to back. Her preparation had included the concept, the training, the theory. But training wasn't reality. Reality was sitting here breathing hard, knowing 3 more men waited to hurt her, 3 bigger, stronger, more skilled opponents. And she was already tired. She thought about her father, about Mogadishu, about Somalia. 4 fighters, 11 minutes. 3 broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, concussion, bleeding internally. He'd done it for 11 minutes. She could do 15, maybe 20. She had to. The referee called time. Next match, Lieutenant Blackwood versus Corporal Wyatt Thorne. Thorne entered carefully. The sniper, 5'11", 180, lean and flexible, Muay Thai trained. Kira had watched him the most during reconnaissance. He was technical, smart, the best pure striker in Shaw's squad, the most dangerous in a stand-up fight. This would be a real fight, not a mismatch, not an easy submission. Thorne was close to her weight. His training was legitimate, professional level, and he'd watched 3 teammates lose. He knew what Kira could do, knew what mistakes to avoid. They met at center ring, touched gloves. Thorne's expression was serious, focused, respectful. Respect, ma'am, but I'm not going out like they did. I understand. Fight. Thorne started orthodox, traditional Muay Thai stance. Hands high, elbows tight, weight distributed evenly. He didn't rush, didn't showboat, just moved, professional, measured, a technician at work. Kira circled, stayed in her stance, hands protecting her head, watching his eyes, his shoulders, his hips, looking for the tell, the opening, the mistake. Thorne threw a low kick, testing. Kira checked it, shin to shin. The impact echoed through the gym, solid contact, both fighters wincing internally. Another low kick, another check. The sound like baseball bats colliding. Thorne was working, building rhythm, setting patterns, making Kira react to his strikes so she wouldn't see the real attack coming. Classic Muay Thai strategy. Establish the jab, then throw the cross. 40 seconds of careful exchange. Low kicks, teep kicks. Both fighters technical, both measuring distance, both looking for the opening. The crowd leaned forward. This looked different. This looked like an actual fight between trained martial artists. This was beautiful. This was art. Thorne threw a combination. Jab, cross, low kick, proper mechanics, proper form, proper sequencing. Kira blocked the first two, checked the kick, defended well. Then Thorne threw a knee, fast, well disguised, aimed at her midsection, committed fully to the technique. Kira caught it, both hands on his shin. And in that split second, Thorne realized he'd made his first mistake. His only mistake. And it would be his last. Kira twisted, used his momentum, off-balanced him. Thorne tried to recover, tried to hop back, tried to pull free. His training screaming at him that he'd made an error. Kira jumped, a flying technique she drilled 1,000 times with cross. Her legs wrapped around Thorne's neck and arm while she was airborne, all her weight falling backward. The triangle choke materializing in midair. They crashed to the canvas together. Kira's momentum and body weight pulled Thorne forward. He fell to his knees, his arm hyperextended, trapped between Kira's legs, one leg across his throat, the other hooked behind his head, his own arm trapped against his neck by her thigh. The classic triangle configuration, beautiful in its simplicity, devastating in its effectiveness, one of the most fundamental submissions in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Thorne was good, immediately started working defense, posture, pressure, trying to stand, trying to slam her, trying anything to create space. His training kicking in, his coach's voices in his head. But Kira had the angle, had the position. She grabbed her own shin, pulled down, tightened the triangle. The choke compressed Thorne's carotid from multiple directions. Physics and anatomy working together. Thorne fought for 30 seconds, 40, 50. His face turned red, sweat dripping, breathing labored, fighting with everything he had, with all his skill, all his heart. Finally he tapped, sharp slaps against her leg. No shame in it, just recognition. Respect between martial artists. 1 minute, 44 seconds. Kira released. Thorne rolled away, gasping. He stayed on the canvas for a moment, hands on his throat, processing. Then he stood, walked to Kira, extended his fist. That was textbook, ma'am. Respect. Kira bumped his fist. You're a good fighter, Corporal. Best I've faced tonight. Not good enough. But he smiled, slight, genuine. Left the ring with his dignity intact, with respect earned. The crowd was roaring now. 4 men defeated, 4 trained combat Marines back to back, professional fighters, all beaten by technique, by skill, by a woman who weighed 125. But Cross saw what the crowd didn't. Kira's arms were shaking. Her legs looked disconnected when she walked. She had 2 fights left, the biggest opponent and the best, and her body was approaching failure. Kira collapsed onto the stool. Couldn't speak, just drank water, breathed. Tried to recover in 2 minutes what her body needed 2 hours to restore. Tried to find energy that didn't exist. Across the ring, the 2 remaining Marines were talking. Sergeant Callum Rhodes, the giant, and Staff Sergeant Everett Shaw, the champion. Rhodes looked nervous. He just watched 4 teammates lose. All bigger than Kira. All trained fighters. All confident. All beaten. The pattern was clear. The outcome seemed inevitable. Shaw's expression was unreadable. Stone, he was measuring, calculating, adjusting his assessment. This wasn't luck anymore. This wasn't size. This was mastery. And he knew it, respected it, feared it. The referee called time. Next match, Lieutenant Blackwood versus Sergeant Callum Rhodes. Rhodes stood 6'4", 240, 115 pounds heavier than Kira, the biggest man she'd ever fought, the biggest she'd faced tonight, a mountain of muscle. He climbed through the ropes. The ring shook slightly under his weight. Kira stood. Her legs barely cooperated. She locked her knees, willed herself upright, refused to show weakness. They met at center. Rhodes looked down at her, looked apologetic. Kind eyes in a warrior's body. "Ma'am, I don't want to hurt you." "Then don't, Sergeant. Just fight." They touched gloves. Rhodes's hands were enormous, made Kira's look like a child's, made the size difference absurd, made people wonder how this was fair. "Fight!" Rhodes stalked forward slowly, careful. He'd learned from watching. Knew rushing was death. Knew Kira was dangerous despite her size. His reach advantage was massive. 82 inches, nearly 7 feet fingertip to fingertip. He could control the center, control the distance, make Kira come to him, make her work for everything. He threw a jab, long, snapping. Kira pulled back. The fist passed an inch from her face, close enough to feel the air move. Another jab. She slipped. Rhodes was testing range, establishing control, using his gifts. 30 seconds. Rhodes had barely moved, just worked his jab. Patient, smart, using his size exactly right. Textbook boxing for a big man. Kira needed to get inside, needed to close distance. But she was tired. Rhodes was fresh. He could keep her at range forever. Pick her apart from distance. Wait for her to make a mistake born from exhaustion. 45 seconds. Rhodes threw another jab. Kira slipped outside, tried to close. Rhodes circled away, maintained distance. Professional, disciplined, 1 minute. The crowd was getting restless. This was slower, more technical, less exciting than the previous fights, more like boxing, less like the violence they'd witnessed. But Kira was thinking, watching. Rhodes was big, was strong, but he was slow. And when he got tired, when his arms got heavy from holding them up, he dropped his left hand. She'd seen it during training. The habit was there. The tell was real. She just had to make him tired, had to make him work, had to wait. Kira pressed forward, more aggressive, forced Rhodes to work, to jab more, to move more, to keep his hands up, to burn energy maintaining his defense. Rhodes obliged, through combinations. Nothing fancy, just basic boxing, but effective when you had an 80-inch reach. Effective when you weighed 240. Effective when physics was on your side. 1 minute 30. Rhodes was breathing harder. His arms had been up for 90 seconds. Holding up 240 pounds of muscle required energy, required oxygen, required effort. Kira watched his left hand, still up, still protecting his jaw, still disciplined. 1 minute 45. Rhodes threw a right cross, big, powerful, everything behind it. Kira ducked under, felt it pass over her head, close, too close, and there it was. Just for a second. Rhodes's left hand dropped 6 inches, maybe 8, recovering from the big right hand, the habit asserting itself through fatigue, the tell manifesting exactly as predicted. Kira moved, didn't think, just reacted. Muscle memory taking over, her father's training, crosses drilling, thousands of repetitions making the movement automatic, making it faster than thought. She stepped inside Rhodes's guard, got past his reach, jumped, flying armbar, one of the most spectacular techniques in submission grappling, one of the most difficult to execute, requiring perfect timing, perfect positioning, perfect commitment, no hesitation, no doubt. Kira's body went horizontal in midair, her legs wrapping around Rhodes's extended right arm, all her weight falling backward, 125 pounds of falling body weight leveraged against an elbow joint. Rhodes's eyes went wide. He tried to pull back, but his arm was trapped. Kira's legs locked around it, her hips pressed against his elbow joint, physics taking over, anatomy dictating outcome. They crashed to the canvas. Kira's momentum and body weight pulled Rhodes forward. He fell to his knees, his arm hyperextended, the elbow joint bent the wrong way, the way joints aren't designed to bend. The pop was audible. Throughout the gymnasium, a sound that made people wince, made them look away, made them understand this was real. Rhodes screamed, tapped frantically with his free hand, slapping the canvas over and over, desperate, panicked, in agony beyond anything he'd experienced. Kira released instantly, professional to the end, rolled away. Rhodes clutched his elbow, face twisted in pain, real pain. Not just the discomfort of a choke or the pressure of a lock. This was injury, possible break, possible dislocation, possible permanent damage. The medical team rushed the ring, surrounded Rhodes, checked his arm, applied ice, started assessment, began triage. 2 minutes, 17 seconds, 5 men down. But something was wrong. Kira tried to stand. Her left shoulder screamed, sharp pain, searing, electric. She'd landed wrong in the crash. Her full body weight plus Rhodes's falling weight, all of it compressed onto her left shoulder at a bad angle. Awkward, dangerous. She tried to lift her left arm. Couldn't. The shoulder was compromised. Dislocated or severely sprained or separated. Either way, useless. Either way, not working. She stood anyway. Right arm working, left arm hanging limp at her side, refusing to quit, refusing to stop, refusing to give Shaw the satisfaction. The crowd saw it. 400 people seeing her injury, seeing her vulnerability, seeing the handicap, murmurs, whispers, shock, concern, fear. Rhodes was being helped from the ring, stretcher, possible fracture, possible surgery. He'd recover, but not for 6 months, not for a year. His elbow would never be the same. The medical team turned to Kira, tried to examine her shoulder, tried to do their job. Lieutenant, your shoulder is compromised. We need to— No. Kira's voice was steel. Tape it. Ice it. I have 1 fight left. Ma'am, you can't fight with? Tape it. I have 2 minutes. Move. The medic looked at Cross. Cross looked at Kira, saw the determination in her eyes, the absolute refusal to quit, the warrior's heart that wouldn't accept defeat, couldn't accept stopping before the mission was complete. He nodded to the medic. Do what she says. 90 seconds remaining. The medic examined the shoulder quickly. Professional assessment. Anterior dislocation or severe AC separation. Grade 3 at minimum. It's bad, Lieutenant. Really bad. Tape it anyway. He taped it, wrapped it, applied ice. But they all knew it was cosmetic. The shoulder was compromised. Kira couldn't lift her left arm, couldn't use it for grips, for defense, for punching, for anything. She was functionally one-armed. She had 1 functional arm and 1 fight left against the best fighter, the champion, the man who'd started all this with 6 words, the man who was about to fight a one-armed opponent and probably still win. Cross pulled her aside. 60 seconds left. Kira, you can stop. You've proven more than— No. 6 fights. That was the deal. All 6. I don't get to choose which ones count. Cross opened the notebook, showed her the final page, the sealed envelope, already opened during day 5. The diagram visible, her father's forbidden technique, one-handed guillotine variation, designed for when 1 arm was compromised, when normal technique wasn't possible, when the only option was something desperate, something dangerous. He used this in Afghanistan with a dislocated shoulder, Cross said. 11 minutes of combat, 1 arm. He almost died, Kira, bled internally for hours before medevac arrived. 2 years of surgeries after, never fully recovered. Did he tap out? Cross was silent. Did he quit? No, but then I'm my father's daughter. The referee called time. 2 minutes complete. Across the ring, Shaw was warming up, arm circles, loosening his shoulders, rolling his neck. His face was focused. All the arrogance gone, replaced by professional assessment, by respect for an opponent, by fear of what she'd already accomplished. He'd underestimated her. All of them had. But Shaw was smart enough to learn from mistakes, smart enough to adjust. He wouldn't rush, wouldn't be predictable, wouldn't give her the easy openings the others had provided. And he was fresh, hadn't fought yet, spent the last 22 minutes watching, learning, preparing, studying, while Kira burned through everything she had. Kira was exhausted, 5 fights deep, 1 arm useless, vision blurring at the edges, body screaming. Every cell begging to stop, to tap, to quit. This would be war. This would be hell. This would test everything. The referee called them to center ring. Lieutenant Blackwood, are you able to continue? Kira's left arm hung limp, visibly injured, obvious to everyone. But her voice was strong. Yes, sir, the referee turned to Shaw. Staff Sergeant, your opponent is injured. You have the option to— We fight. But his eyes said something else. Regret, respect, maybe even apology. This wasn't what he wanted. Not like this. Not against an injured opponent. But he couldn't stop now. Couldn't back down. Not after everything. Kira met his gaze. Don't hold back, Staff Sergeant, or I'll take that arm too. Something flickered in Shaw's expression. Surprise, respect, fear. Then he nodded. Understanding that she wanted this, needed this, demanded this. The referee stepped back, looked at both fighters, looked at the crowd. 400 people on the edge of their seats. witnessing something that would be talked about for decades, something that would become legend. This is a 3-minute round. Standard rules. If neither fighter finishes, we'll go to a second round. He paused. Ready? Kira touched her father's dog tags with her right hand. One last time. One last connection. Shaw raised his hands. Orthodox boxing stance. Guard high. Professional. Ready. The referee's arm came down. Fight! Shaw didn't rush, didn't charge, didn't make the mistakes his Marines had made. He started in textbook boxing stance. Orthodox, left foot forward, hands protecting his head, weight balanced. Professional from the first second. He threw a jab, fast, snapping. Kira slipped it, barely. Slower than earlier fights. Fatigue making her reactions a half step behind, making her vulnerable. Shaw threw another jab. She slipped that too. But he was working, establishing rhythm, testing range, building combinations, setting her up for something bigger. This was technical boxing. Not brawling, not wild swinging. This was skill versus skill. Technique versus technique. And Kira had one arm, and Shaw had everything. She circled, tried to stay outside, tried to conserve energy. Her body was screaming. 5 fights, 17 minutes, maybe 30 seconds of actual rest total. Every muscle depleted, every reserve tapped. Shaw pressed forward, threw a 1-2 combination. Jab, cross. Kira blocked the jab with her right arm. The cross glanced off her shoulder. Stung, real power behind it. Shaw could punch. He threw a hook. Kira ducked, came up inside his guard, tried to clinch, tried to take him down, get to her world, the ground, where technique mattered more than arms, where leverage could overcome strength. Shaw sprawled. Good wrestling defense for a boxer. Excellent coaching. He pushed her away, reset to striking range, maintained his advantage. 30 seconds. Shaw was controlling the pace, controlling the distance, making Kira react to him, making her fight his fight. Another combination. Jab, jab, cross, hook. The last hook caught Kira on the ear. Her head snapped sideways. Stars burst across her vision. The crowd gasped. First clean shot of the fight. Shaw pressed, smelled blood, sensed opportunity. Another combination. Kira covered up, blocked most of it, but a jab got through, split her lip. She tasted copper, blood in her mouth. 1 minute, Shaw was winning, landing the cleaner shots, controlling the ring, making it look easy. Kira was tired, slow, her reactions a half step behind where they needed to be, and she only had one arm to defend with. Shaw threw a straight right. Kira slipped outside, countered with a low kick, caught his lead leg. Shaw absorbed it, didn't check, just ate the kick and threw a cross that snapped Kira's head back. The round felt endless. Kira was losing. For the first time all night, she was losing. Behind on points, behind on damage, behind on every metric that mattered. And if she lost this fight, she lost everything. Her career, her father's legacy, the future she'd been building. But somewhere in her exhausted mind, she heard Cross's voice. When you're hurt, when you're tired, when you can't go on, that's when phantoms are made. That's when Blackwoods show what they're made of. 2 minutes. Another combination caught Kira clean. Right eye swelling, lip bleeding worse, vision blurring, the damage accumulating. 2 minutes 30. Shaw threw a long jab. Kira slipped it, saw an opening, Shaw's right shoulder. For just a split second, his guard dropped as he extended. The old injury, the weakness she'd identified, the rotator cuff that never healed right. But she was too tired, too slow. The moment passed before she could capitalize, before she could exploit what she'd seen. The bell rang. 3 minutes, round 1 complete. Kira stumbled to her corner, collapsed onto the stool. Cross was there. Water, towel, ice for her eye, ice for her shoulder, ice for everything that hurt. He's winning. I can't touch him. Yes, you can. He's favoring that right shoulder. I saw it twice. He winced. You saw it too. You saw it. Cross grabbed her chin, made her look at him, made her focus. Stop trying to box him. You can't. Not with one arm. You're a grappler. Get inside. Take him down. Make it your fight. Make it about technique, not punching. I'm too tired. Then be tired on top of him. Be tired while you're choking him. But don't be tired while he's punching you in the face. Cross's eyes were intense, fierce, burning with belief. Your father fought for 11 minutes. You fought for 20. But this is the fight that matters. This is the one people will remember. This is the one that defines you. Give them something to remember. Show them what Blackwoods do when everything's gone, when there's nothing left, when the only choice is quit or die trying. The referee called time. 1 minute rest complete. Kira stood. Her legs barely held her. She walked to center ring. Shaw looked fresh, confident, not even breathing hard, like he'd been warming up instead of fighting. Round 2. The final round. 3 minutes that would determine everything. Fight. Shaw came forward with the same technical precision, same control, same discipline. Threw a jab. Kira slipped. But this time, instead of circling away, Kira pressed forward, got inside his reach, inside the range where his punches lost power, where technique mattered more than size, where desperation could become advantage. Shaw tried to tie her up, push her away like before, or create distance, get back to boxing range where he had the advantage. Kira grabbed his right arm with her good hand, pulled, used his own push against him. Simple judo principle drilled 10,000 times. When they push you pull, make their force your weapon. Shaw's balance shifted, just slightly, just enough, a fraction of imbalance. Kira hooked his leg, dropped her weight. Basic trip, nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. They went down together. Shaw tried to land in guard, tried to control her from bottom, keep her at distance. But Kira passed immediately. Years of grappling experience taking over, muscle memory functioning when conscious thought failed, when the body was too tired to think. She got to side control. Shaw bucked, tried to create space, tried to stand. Kira moved with him, flowed like water. Got to his back as he turned, found the position she wanted. Now she had it. Shaw face down, Kira on his back, her legs wrapped around his waist, her one good arm searching for his neck. Hunting, patient, inevitable. Shaw was a good boxer, but not a good grappler. Limited ground game. He tried to stand, pushed up with his hands. Kira went with him, stayed glued to his back like a shadow. Her legs locked, body triangle, unbreakable, even one-armed. They got to their knees. Shaw still trying to shake her, still trying to escape. But Kira's legs were locked. Her right arm worked for his neck. Shaw defended well, chin down, hands protecting his throat. Boxing fundamentals saving him. For now. Kira threw short punches to his ribs. Legal strikes from back mount. Not hard enough to hurt badly, just annoying, just making him uncomfortable, making him react, making him make mistakes. Shaw tried to hand fight, tried to grab her wrist. That opened his neck slightly, created a gap. Kira's arms snaked in, got under his chin. Shaw pulled his chin down hard. Good defense, good coaching. The choke wasn't fully locked. Kira squeezed anyway, compressed his jaw, made it hurt, made him miserable, made him understand this wouldn't end until he quit or went unconscious. 30 seconds of battle, Shaw defending, Kira attacking, neither willing to give. Both warriors fighting with everything left. Then Shaw made a mistake. Tired, frustrated, hurt, desperate. He tried to pull Kira's arm away from his throat, used both hands, committed fully to breaking the choke, abandoned defense for offense. That removed his hands from neck defense. Kira adjusted immediately. Got her forearm deeper across his throat. Not his jaw anymore. His actual throat, the choke locked properly now. Technically sound. Anatomically correct. Shaw felt it, knew it. His eyes widened with understanding, with recognition, with fear. He tried to tuck his chin again. Too late. The choke was in. He had maybe 10 seconds before unconsciousness. Maybe less with how tight it was locked. But something strange happened. Shaw's body went completely still. Not stiff, not fighting, just still, surrendering to something deeper than the choke. And Kira felt it. Through the physical contact, through the compression of her arm on his neck, a tremor. Not from struggling, from something else, from memory, from grief. Amanda, Shaw whispered, so quiet only Kira could hear. A name, a ghost, a regret. For just a second, a flashback flickered through Shaw's mind like lightning. A memory so vivid it felt real. More real than the pain. More real than the fight. Backyard, summer. 2007. 18 years ago. A lifetime ago. Shaw at 19, home on leave from boot camp, teaching his 15-year-old sister. Teaching her to fight. Teaching her to be strong. Claire Shaw, blonde, bright smile, full of life, wearing an oversized Marine Corps t-shirt, their father's shirt, the father who died in Mogadishu 3 years earlier. Okay, so if I ever have to fight one-handed, Claire said, demonstrating the exact position Kira was in now. Arms wrapped around Shaw's neck, body on his back. This is the move, right? Young Shaw nodded, proud, protective. Yeah, but you'll never need to. I'll always protect you. But if you can't, Claire's eyes were serious. Too serious for 15. If you're deployed, if you're not there. Shaw taught her the one-handed guillotine variation, the forbidden technique, the same one Kira's father had created independently across the country, the same principles, the same physics. Because there were only so many ways to choke a human being with one arm. Like this, Claire said, demonstrating. Right, perfect. But seriously, sis, you're never gonna need this. You're too smart to get in fights. Claire laughed, light, happy, alive. Says the guy whose job is literally fighting. Present, Shaw in the ring. Kira's arm around his neck, the position identical to what Claire had practiced 18 years ago. The sister who died 2 years later. Car accident, drunk driver, 17 years old. 2 months from enlisting Marine Corps. 2 months from following in their father's footsteps. 2 months from becoming the warrior she was meant to be. The sister Shaw had told she was too weak for the Marines. Too small, too female. The words he could never take back. The words that echoed in his nightmares. And now here he was, being choked out by a woman using his dead sister's move. The universe teaching him a lesson in the cruelest way possible. Showing him what Claire could have been, should have been, would have been if he'd believed in her. Kira felt Shaw's body change, felt the fight go out of him, not from the choke, from something deeper, from truth, from understanding, from acceptance. 5 seconds left before unconsciousness. 4, 3. Shaw's hand came up. 3 deliberate taps on Kira's thigh. Not panicked, not forced, voluntary, respectful, accepting defeat to a better warrior, accepting truth. Kira released immediately, professional to the end, rolled off him. Both collapsed to the canvas. Shaw on his side, gasping, Kira on her back, staring at ceiling lights, unable to move, every muscle spent, every reserve empty, tears streaming from her eyes. First time all night, 13 years of grief, 22 minutes of combat. One arm for the final fight, all of it releasing in hot tears that she couldn't stop. Didn't want to stop. 3 seconds of complete silence. Then the gymnasium exploded. 400 people on their feet, screaming, roaring, crying. The sound was physical, a pressure wave that shook the ring, that shook the building, that shook the world. Phantom, phantom, phantom. They were using her father's call sign, honoring his legacy, recognizing what they just witnessed, understanding that history had been made, that everything had changed. SEALs crying, hugging each other, Marines standing, clapping, unable to deny what they'd seen, unable to maintain the prejudice, unable to keep believing the lie. 6 men, 6 victories, 22 minutes. One arm for the last fight, history made, witnessed, undeniable, unforgettable. Shaw crawled to Kira, both broken, both crying, no shame, no hiding, just truth. Just warriors recognizing what they'd both learned. That move, Shaw's voice was hoarse, raw, destroyed. The one-armed guillotine. Where did you? My father, Kira managed, created it in Afghanistan. 2011, used it to save his team. Shaw's face crumpled, tears flowing freely now. My sister, Claire. I taught her that same move, before she died. Kira turned her head, looked at him. What happened to her? Car accident, 2009, drunk driver. She was 17. Shaw's voice broke, shattered. 2 months from enlisting Marine Corps, she wanted to be force recon, like our dad who died in Mogadishu. Like me. Tears ran down his face. No attempt to hide them, no masculine pride, just grief, just truth. I told her she couldn't, that she was too weak, too small, that she'd fail, that she'd embarrass the family name. She died believing her brother thought she was weak, both crying now, in front of 400 people. 2 warriors broken open by combat and truth and the weight of years. I spent 15 years making sure no woman proved me wrong about her, Shaw continued, because if women could do this, it meant Claire could have. And then I'd have to live with destroying her dream for nothing, with the fact that I broke her spirit right before she died. Kira reached out with her good hand, touched his shoulder. She wasn't weak. I'm not weak. Help me stand. We finish this together. Shaw looked at her. Something shifted in his eyes. Understanding, acceptance, redemption, maybe even forgiveness. From her, from himself, from Claire's ghost. He helped her to her feet, one arm each, supporting each other. Warriors who tried to destroy each other now holding each other up, now bound together by something deeper than victory or defeat. Kira raised Shaw's hand alongside hers with her good arm. The referee raised both their hands higher. 400 people losing their minds. Photographers capturing the moment. Flashbulbs, phone cameras. The image that would define both their careers. That would change everything. Blood, sweat, tears, respect. Everything the military stood for in one frame. Everything warriors aspire to in one moment. Shaw leaned close. Only Kira could hear over the roar. Thank you for showing me, for proving it, for being what Claire could have been. Should have been. Kira nodded. Couldn't speak. The emotion too overwhelming. Too big for words. The medics swarmed them both, separating them, beginning treatment. But their eyes met across the chaos, a connection forged in combat, an understanding born from pain, a friendship that would last a lifetime. The crowd slowly began to disperse, but nobody wanted to leave. Everyone wanted to hold on to this moment, to be able to say they were there. They witnessed it. The night Kira Blackwood became legend. The night everything changed. The medical tent smelled of antiseptic and ice. 22:45 hours, 45 minutes since the final bell. Since history was made, Kira sat on an examination table. Her left shoulder had been examined by an orthopedic surgeon. Anterior dislocation. Already relocated. The pain was incredible, even with local anesthesia pumping through her system. You need surgery within 2 weeks, the surgeon said. 6 months recovery minimum, maybe 8. You did significant damage fighting with this. Significant. You may have torn the labrum, maybe the rotator cuff. We won't know until we get in there. Will I get full function back? If you follow the protocol exactly. No guarantees. You may never regain complete range of motion. Your father had the same injury. How was his recovery? Kira was quiet. Her father had the same injury in Afghanistan. Same surgery, never fully recovered. Lived with limited mobility for 10 years. Could barely raise his arm above his head. Took pain medication daily. Never complained. Not great, she admitted. Then manage your expectations. Cross sat with her. Silent presence. He'd been there through it all. Had never left the building. Never wavered. Never doubted. Your father would be proud, he finally said. Also furious you didn't tap with that shoulder. Did he tap in Afghanistan? Cross was quiet for a long moment, remembering. Grieving. No, and he paid for it. 2 years of surgeries, physical therapy, constant pain. He told me once he'd make the same choice again. That some things are worth the cost. That protecting his team was worth any price. Then I'm his daughter. Yes, you are. Completely. Shaw entered the tent, asked permission with his eyes. Cross nodded, started to leave to give them privacy. Stay, Kira said. Please, Master Chief. Cross sat back down. Shaw approached slowly. His throat was wrapped in bandages. Severe bruising, but no permanent damage. He'd be fine in a week, maybe 2. I need to say something, Shaw said. Pulled out a photograph from his pocket. Worn, creased from being carried for years. Touched 10,000 times. He showed it to Kira. Teenage girl, blonde, bright smile, Gerard uniform, TC. Full of life, full of potential. Claire Shaw, my baby sister, 2009, 6 months before she died. The girl in the photo looked happy, confident, ready to take on the world, ready to be a warrior. She'd just been accepted to Marine Corps OCS, was going to be forced recon, like our dad who died in Mogadishu when I was 15. Like me. Shaw's voice was steady, but his hands shook. Grief never really leaving, just hiding, waiting. Week before the accident, I told her women couldn't handle it, that she'd wash out in the first week, that she'd embarrass the family name, that our dad would be ashamed. Those were my last real words to her, the last conversation that mattered. He looked at Kira. She died believing I thought she was weak, believing her brother had no faith in her, no belief, no love. For 15 years, I made sure no woman proved me wrong, because if they could do it, it meant Claire could have. And then I'd have to live with destroying her dream for nothing, with the fact that I broke her spirit right before she died, with the fact that my words might have been the last thing she thought about. Shaw sat down heavily. Tonight, you proved she could have done it, could have been great, could have stood among warriors, could have made our father proud. He looked at the photograph, touched her face gently. I'm sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry. You weren't weak. You were never weak. Kira reached out with her good hand, took the photograph, studied Claire's face. saw the resemblance, saw the Shaw determination, saw the warrior spirit. She wasn't weak, Kira said quietly. I'm not weak. The thousands of women you tried to keep out aren't weak. Your sister deserved better from you. But she's gone. The women still here deserve better too. Shaw looked up. Tell me how to fix this. Tell me how to honor her. Monday morning, 0800, full base formation. You know what you have to do, Shaw nodded. The apology, public, permanent record. Not just words, Kira said. Action, change. You can't bring Claire back, but you can honor her by helping the next generation, by making sure no woman faces what I faced, what she would have faced. Shaw stood. Monday, I'll be there. He started to leave, turned back. Lieutenant, that forbidden technique, the one-handed guillotine. Would you teach it to me? I want to pass it forward, in Claire's name, so she's not forgotten. Kira was quiet for a moment, then nodded. After I recover, we'll train together. We'll make sure everyone knows her name. Shaw's eyes widened. You'd train with me after everything Warriors train with warriors, Staff Sergeant. You proved you're a warrior tonight. You fought until you had to tap. You accepted defeat with honor. That's enough. That's all that matters. Shaw saluted. Not the formal military salute. Something deeper. Respect between equals. Respect between people who'd seen each other at their worst and best. Then he left. Cross looked at Kira. You're exhausted. You should sleep. I can't. Not yet. She pulled out her father's notebook. Opened it to page 83. The final entry. The words that had carried her through Hell Week. Through 2 years as a SEAL. Through tonight. She remembered them. Every word. Every lesson. Being strong was about standing back up. Being brave was about fighting anyway. Being a warrior was about crying, wiping your eyes, and getting back to work. Then she picked up a pen, turned to a blank page in the back. Wrote her own entry for the first time. Dad, I did it. 6 Marines, 22 minutes. The last fight with one arm, just like you in Afghanistan. Except you had 4 opponents and I had 6. So I think I beat your record. Don't be mad. I cried tonight. After it was done, cried for you, for the 13 years without you, for every person who said I didn't belong, for carrying your name and hoping I was worthy. Then I wiped my face, just like you taught me, and tomorrow I'll get back to work. Shaw changed tonight, learned, broke open and became something better. That's the real victory, isn't it? Not just winning fights, changing hearts. I love you, Dad. I miss you every day. But I feel you with me, in every technique, every principle, every moment when I wanted to quit but didn't. You made me strong enough to cry, strong enough to fight, strong enough to be human and warrior at the same time. Thank you for Phantom Protocol. Thank you for believing in me before I believed in myself. Your daughter, your legacy, your Phantom. Kira. She closed the notebook, wiped her eyes, looked at Cross. Now I can sleep. Monday morning arrived with gray clouds and light rain. 0800 hours, 520 personnel in dress uniforms, every SEAL, every Marine, all officers, enlisted, support staff. Everyone who could be there was there. Commander Harrison presiding. Kira stood at attention, left arm in a sling, right eye still swollen, lips stitched, but standing tall, standing proud. Shaw marched to the podium, dress blues, every ribbon perfectly aligned. He carried prepared remarks but didn't look at them. Spoke from the heart. Spoke truth. I am Staff Sergeant Everett Shaw, United States Marine Corps Force Recon. His voice carried across the formation. Strong, clear, no hesitation, no weakness. I stand before 520 service members to issue a formal public apology. He paused. Let the words settle. Let everyone understand what was happening. Lieutenant Kira Blackwood. Every female service member on this base. Every woman who has worn or will wear the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. I was wrong. The 2 words hung in the air. Simple, powerful, true. Not partially wrong, not situationally wrong. Completely, catastrophically, inexcusably wrong. I dismissed a fellow warrior based solely on gender. I weaponized my sister's death to justify prejudice. I used grief as excuse to gatekeep, to prevent, to destroy dreams, to break spirits. Saturday night, Lieutenant Blackwood defeated 6 Marines consecutively in 22 minutes of combat. The final fight she conducted with a dislocated shoulder and 1 functional arm. Murmurs through the crowd. Many hadn't known about the injury, hadn't realized she'd fought the last match essentially one-handed. The revelation changed everything, made the victory more impressive, made the story more powerful. She did not do this with luck. She did it with skill forged through discipline, with technique inherited from her father, with a warrior's heart that humbles every person in this formation. I said to her, "Try not to cry, princess," as if crying were weakness, as if emotion disqualified her from service, as if being human made her less of a warrior. I was wrong. Warriors do cry. We cry for our fallen. We cry for the cost of our choices. We cry because we're strong enough to feel everything and still stand on the wall, still do the job, still protect those who can't protect themselves. Lieutenant Blackwood is everything the Marine Corps claims to value: honor, courage, commitment, capability earned through sacrifice. She embodies these values more than I ever have. Shaw's voice grew stronger, more passionate, more true. My sister Claire wanted to be a Marine. I told her she couldn't, that she'd fail. She died believing her brother thought she was weak. Lieutenant Blackwood proved that Claire could have done it, could have been great, could have stood among warriors. "I'm sorry, Claire. I'm sorry, Lieutenant. I'm sorry to all of you." He paused. This was the moment, the commitment, the sacrifice. But apologies without action are empty. So I'm making a commitment, public, on the record. Commander Harrison, I request immediate transfer from Force Recon Operations to Training Command. I want to teach hand-to-hand combat alongside Lieutenant Blackwood. I want Phantom Protocol to become standard curriculum across all branches. I want my career to be about building warriors, not preventing them. About opening doors, not closing them. The crowd erupted in murmurs. For a Force Recon Marine, this was career suicide, choosing teaching over combat, over glory, over the prestige of operational units, over everything that made him special. It was sacrifice, not just words, real cost, real change. Harrison stepped forward, took the microphone. "Staff Sergeant Shaw, your request is noted and granted. Upon Lieutenant Blackwood's medical recovery, you will report to DevGru Training Command at Dam Neck, Virginia." He turned to the formation. "What we witnessed Saturday night will be studied for decades." Lieutenant Blackwood proved that capability has no gender, only heart, only skill, only will. She honored her father's legacy and created her own. She made us all better by refusing to accept our limitations. Dismissed. 520 people saluted, then applause. Starting with the SEALs, spreading to the Marines, even Shaw's own squad clapping. Archer, Kane, Sullivan, Thorne, Rhodes watching from the medical building, arm in a cast, standing at attention. All of them changed by what they'd witnessed. All of them better for having seen it. Kira stood at attention, taking it in, the moment, the victory. Not just in combat, in hearts, in minds, in the future. 8 weeks later, December, DevGru Training Facility, Dam Neck, Virginia. Lieutenant Commander Kira Blackwood, promoted early for extraordinary conduct. Assigned to SEAL Team 6, teaching advanced hand-to-hand combat to the most elite warriors in the American military. Her shoulder had healed well. Surgery successful. 8 months of physical therapy. Grueling, painful. She'd regained 95% function. Good enough. Better than her father had managed. Better than she'd hoped. Shaw transferred in as promised. Marine liaison, co-instructor, teaching alongside her, learning from her, growing, first class, 32 elite operators, SEALs, Rangers, Marine Raiders, Air Force Pararescue, 30 men, 2 women, the best of the best. Kira demonstrated on a 6'5" Army Ranger, flowing between techniques like water. The Ranger outweighed her by 90 pounds. Didn't matter. Never mattered. Shaw provided commentary. Note the leverage points. She's not overpowering him. She's making his size work against him, making his strength his weakness. He paused, looked at the class. "I learned this the hard way. Got choked unconscious in front of 400 people. Best education I ever received. Cost me my ego. Gave me perspective. Gave me truth." The class laughed. The tension broke. The lesson continued. After class, a female Army Ranger approached. Hesitant. Young. Maybe 24. Uncertain but determined. "Ma'am, can I ask something?" "Of course." "How did you overcome the mental aspect everyone's saying you're too small, too female, too different?" Kira smiled. The question she'd heard 1,000 times. But it never got old, because the answer mattered, because the answer changed lives. "I didn't overcome it. I made it irrelevant. You become so undeniably good that capability speaks louder than any doubt. You make them eat their words not with arguments, but with performance. With excellence they can't deny," Shaw added. And for those of us who doubted, we eventually learn. The hard way, usually. But we learn. And then we have a choice, stay stupid or get better. I chose better. That evening, Cross visited, brought a package. Official Department of Defense seal. His face was serious. Reverent. It came through, he said quietly. Kira opened it, hands shaking. Inside was a certificate. Embossed, official, real, Medal of Honor. Master Chief Garrett Blackwood, awarded posthumously. She'd never known this was being processed. Never known her father was being considered. Cross had kept it secret, not wanting to raise hopes, not wanting to create expectations. The citation read, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty." Master Chief Garrett Blackwood developed revolutionary hand-to-hand combat methodology known as Phantom Protocol. During combat operations Afghanistan 2011, despite dislocated shoulder and broken ribs, fought for 11 minutes to extract wounded teammates, demonstrated that superior technique and mental fortitude can overcome any physical disadvantage. His legacy continues through his daughter, Lieutenant Commander Kira Blackwood. Kira read through tears, couldn't stop them, didn't want to. He never knew. He knew he did the right thing. That was enough for him. The medal is for the nation to acknowledge it, to say thank you, to remember. 6 weeks later, after the bureaucracy finally moved, White House ceremony. Kira accepted on her father's behalf, her mother present, Margaret Blackwood, 58, quiet strength, the woman who'd raised a warrior alone for 13 years, who'd never remarried, who'd kept Garrett's memory alive through stories and love. Shaw attended, respectful distance, witnessing history, honoring the man who'd created the system that changed everything. The president spoke. Master Chief Blackwood proved that true strength comes from technique, discipline, and heart. His daughter carried that legacy forward and proved it again. Tonight, America honors both father and daughter, both warriors, both heroes. The photograph went viral. Kira in dress blues, holding her father's Medal of Honor, mother on her left, Cross on her right, Shaw in background. A family forged by combat, by loss, by love. Caption, Phantom Protocol. Legacy earned. That evening, Kira sat with her mother in the hotel room. The Medal of Honor between them on the table. Sacred, heavy, real. He would have been impossible to live with, Margaret said quietly, her first words about the ceremony. So proud he'd have bored everyone at every dinner party for years. Kira laughed, then cried, then laughed again, the emotions mixing, becoming one. I miss him, Mom. I know, sweetheart, I know. Margaret pulled her close, held her daughter. But he's not really gone. He's in you, in everything you do, in every woman who graduates Bud Saz using his system, in every person who realizes that limits are just suggestions. They sat in silence, mother and daughter, both warriors in their own way, both carrying Garrett Blackwood's legacy forward in different ways. You did good, Kira, Margaret whispered. We both did. Arlington National Cemetery, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. First snow of winter, light dusting, making everything clean. Quiet. Sacred. Kira visited her father's grave, first time since the fight. 9 months ago. Her shoulder fully recovered now. Back to operational status. Back to teaching. Back to changing the world one student at a time. The headstone had been updated. New engraving. Fresh. Permanent. Master Chief Garrett Phantom Blackwood, 1965 to 2011. Medal of Honor. Recipient. Warrior. Father. Teacher. Legacy. Kira knelt in the snow, traced the letters with her finger, felt the cold stone, the permanence, the truth. Hey, Dad. Her voice was soft but strong. No tears. Not today. Today was for gratitude, for completion, for peace. 9 months since the fight, shoulders fixed. I'm back to full duty, teaching at Team 6 now. Shaw's with me. Yeah, the guy who called me princess. People can change, Dad, when they choose to, when they see truth. They gave you the Medal of Honor. 13 years late, but they finally did it. Mom cried, I cried, Cross cried, even Shaw teared up, though he'll deny it. You know what the citation says. His legacy continues through his daughter. That's me, Dad. I'm your legacy, and I'm trying to be worthy of it. Every day. I fought 6 men that night, just like you fought 4, except I did mine with one arm for the last fight. So I think I beat your record. Don't be mad. She smiled, could almost hear his laugh, his pride, his love. I cried that night. After it was done, cried for you, for the 13 years without you, for every time someone said I didn't belong, for carrying your name and hoping I was doing it justice. Then I wiped my face and got back to work, just like you taught me. The program is growing. Last month, 15 women graduated BUDIA as 15 in one class, using your system, using Phantom Protocol. They're not just surviving, Dad. They're excelling, leading, teaching, changing everything. Shaw asked me something last week. He said, "Do you think Claire could have made it, really?" I told him yes, absolutely, because capability has no gender, only heart, only will. You taught me that, not with words, with example, with how you lived, how you fought, how you loved. I won't say goodbye, Dad, because you're not gone. You're in every technique I teach, every student who learns, every woman who realizes she belongs. But I will say thank you. Thank you for believing in me before I believed in myself. Thank you for creating something that would save me when I needed it most. Thank you for teaching me that warriors cry, and that crying doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. I love you, Dad. She stood, reached into her coat, pulled out her father's black belt, the one she'd worn in the fight, the one that had carried his spirit through 22 minutes of combat. She placed it carefully on the headstone. You gave this to me when I needed it. Now I'm leaving it here. You've earned your rest. I'll carry the protocol forward. I'll make sure your name is never forgotten. She stood at attention, saluted, both arms, full strength, full function, held the salute for 30 seconds, honoring, remembering, loving. Then she turned to leave. A voice called out, "Excuse me, are you Lieutenant Commander Blackwood?" Kira turned. Young female Navy SEAL, maybe 23, 5'4", 130, intense eyes, warriors bearing, the future standing there. Yes. I just graduated BUDS as first in my class. Used Phantom Protocol, your father's system. It saved me in Hell Week. She paused. Thank you. What's your name? Ensign Bryn Harper, ma'am. Kira studied her. Saw herself 5 years ago. Same hunger, same determination, same refusal to be told no, same fire. Your father served, Harper's expression tightened. Yes, ma'am, Marine Corps. He died believing I was too weak for this. I'm proving him wrong, every day. Kira put her hand on Harper's shoulder. You already have. Keep making them remember your name. That's the mission now, not proving we belong. Making sure the next generation never has to prove it. Making it normal. Making it expected. Harper saluted, walked to the grave, paid her respects to a man she'd never met but whose legacy had saved her, had given her the tools to succeed, had made her possible. Kira walked away through the snow, each step lighter than the last. The weight she'd carried for 13 years finally shared, finally distributed among the hundreds of women who would carry Phantom Protocol forward, who would make it their own, who would improve it, who would pass it on. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. Not memory, not imagination, something deeper, something real. Well done, baby girl, well done. She whispered back. We're just getting started, Dad. Arlington disappeared behind her, but ahead was Dam Neck, was Team 6, was the next generation of warriors who would learn that capability has no gender, only heart, only skill, only will. She climbed into her car, started the engine, pulled out her phone. Text from Shaw. Training tomorrow 0600. Bringing coffee. You bring the pain. She smiled, texted back. Roger that. See you then. The drive back to Virginia Beach took 90 minutes. Kira spent it thinking about her father, about Shaw, about Claire and all the women who'd been told they couldn't, who'd been broken by doubt before they could prove themselves, who'd never gotten the chance. Not anymore. Phantom Protocol was official curriculum now, taught at Coronado, at Dam Neck, at Quantico, at Fort Bragg. Everywhere warriors were made, they were learning her father's system. Learning that size didn't matter, that gender didn't matter, that only skill, heart, and will determined who belonged on the wall. She pulled into her apartment complex, carried her father's Medal of Honor inside, placed it on the mantle next to his photograph, next to his trident pin, next to the notebook that had changed everything. Tomorrow she'd teach, she'd train, she'd pass forward what her father had given her. But tonight, she'd rest. She opened her journal, the one she'd started 13 years ago when her father died, turned to a blank page, wrote one final entry. Dad, the fight is over. The war is won. Not completely, not forever, but tonight we won. Shaw teaches with me now. Your Medal of Honor sits on my mantle. 15 women graduated BUDS last month. The world is changing. I'm not fighting to prove myself anymore. I'm teaching others, passing it forward. That's the real Phantom protocol, isn't it? Not just the techniques, the legacy, the knowledge that warriors come in every size, every gender, every background. I cried tonight, not from pain, from gratitude, from completion, from finally understanding what you tried to teach me all along. Warriors don't cry because they're weak. They cry because they're strong enough to feel everything and fight anyway. They cry for the cost, for the fallen, for the weight. Then they wipe their faces and get back to work. Not because someone told them to try not to cry, but because the mission continues, because someone has to stand on the wall, because someone has to carry the protocol forward, because that's what warriors do. We cry, we fight, we endure, we pass it forward, and we never ever let them make us believe we don't belong. Try not to cry, they said. So I cried, then I won anyway. That's Phantom protocol. That's your legacy. That's what warriors do. I love you, Dad, forever, your daughter, your legacy, your Phantom, Kira Blackwood. She closed the journal, set it beside her father's notebook. 2 generations of warriors. 2 books of knowledge, both teaching the same lesson. True strength wasn't about never falling. It was about standing back up. True courage wasn't about never being scared. It was about fighting anyway. True warriors weren't about never crying. It was about crying, wiping your eyes, and getting back to work. Because that's what Blackwoods do. That's what Phantoms do. They cry, they fight, they endure, and they never let anyone make them believe they don't belong. Kira turned off the light. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new students, new opportunities to prove that her father's vision was right, that capability had no gender, that hearts could be changed, that the world could be better. But tonight she could rest. Tonight she could finally say the words she'd been holding for 13 years. Mission complete, Dad. I made them remember, just like you asked. The name Blackwood will never be forgotten. Neither will Phantom Protocol. Neither will you. She closed her eyes, pulled the covers close. And for the first time in 13 years, she slept without the weight of proving herself. Because she'd already proven everything that mattered. She was her father's daughter. She was a warrior. She was a Phantom. And the legacy would live forever. The Medal of Honor gleamed on the mantle, catching light from the street outside. Her father's name engraved in gold. Permanent, honored, remembered. Master Chief Garrett Phantom Blackwood. The man who taught his daughter that warriors cry, that strength comes from standing back up. That legacy isn't what you accomplish, it's what you inspire others to accomplish after you're gone. Kira touched it once in the darkness, then settled into bed. Tomorrow would bring new students, new warriors, new women who would learn that the only limits that mattered were the ones you refused to accept. But tonight she was just Kira Blackwood, daughter, warrior, Phantom. And that was enough. She climbed into bed, closed her eyes, and dreamed of her father smiling.